What's up, Faith?
Hey, sir, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good, actually. Thank you for asking.
Of course. What's going on?
So I'll preface with a few things and then jump in, and I may be a little all over the place, but just bear with me for a sec.
Lucky for you, I'm never all over the place. I am.
Okay, great. Good. Okay, so right now, my husband is the sole provider. I'm not working. I'm 7 months pregnant, and I'm in school full time. I do keep kids a little bit, but it's nothing major. But anyways, once I stopped working, we went over our budget and, realized that we don't really have a whole lot of extra income. Doing single income has been a little challenging, which is fine. But when I was working, I would pretty often go and get things like a coffee before work, or I would go clothes shopping, and all of that has kind of had to be cut out, which is okay, but I've had a really hard time doing without that.
What's the hard time? What does that mean?
Well, I was going to say, I think it's less actually getting stuff and more going out and spending money, and that kind of scares me. My mom was like that, and it put our family in a pretty tough financial situation. And I don't ever want to get to a point where I feel like I'm out of control in terms of my spending. And even right now, sometimes, I'll tell myself, just stay home, don't go anywhere, don't get anything. And then sometimes I still end up getting a coffee or getting food out if I'm grocery shopping or whatever it is. But I don't want to one day put a financial strain on my family because I can't use self-control when it comes to spending.
Are you? Let me get beneath that. Give me 2 or 3 things that make you enraged. Like put money aside. Like 2 or 3 things that just like your thermometer just goes real fast and it just bursts. You just get angry.
Are we talking like anything at all?
Anything at all.
Okay. Child neglect.
Okay. You personally.
Rude. Okay. Generally rude people.
Okay.
Like not thoughtful people. And then maybe being told what to do.
There it is. Anytime you ask somebody 3 things, you always get the answer on number 3.
Well, it took me a second to figure out what you were getting at.
Tell me about your dad. Don't couch it. Just tell me.
Okay. He was a good man, and in his marriage to my mom, he ended up being very beaten down and broken because she didn't like being told what to do. And I don't think he knew how to say no. And so he's a really good guy, and he loves us very much. I think he just was very overwhelmed and kind of a broken guy.
Tell me about your mom's dad.
He was an abusive alcoholic. He was not present. And my dad wasn't super present growing up. I don't fault him for that, but my mom's dad was not present either. He just worked a lot.
Okay. And do you see it?
Is there a pattern?
Yeah. You grow up with a parent who struggles with addiction. I've said it on the show before, you are grabbing at ghosts. It's a very unstable place for a kid to be. It's one of the most terrifying places for a kid to be. And I don't have any data to back this up, but I often wonder if a parent leaving a child is less destabilizing to a kid's nervous system than a parent who struggles with addiction, because at least when a parent leaves completely, that kid has to grieve that, right? When a parent is there and they struggle with addiction, they're there, but they're not there. It's unmooring, right? It unspools a child. And again, you and I could talk for hours and kind of unpack all this, but I'm wondering if your mom at a young age said, I will control every freaking variable from this point forward. I will never feel like this again.
I think me and my siblings have been able to see some of that in my mom. And again, I don't fault her. I can see why she feels that way.
I'm not saying any fault. I'm not saying any fault.
Yeah, I know.
I will say there's a fault if you destroy your family with your habits, right? Or your financials, or your partner.
And I don't want to get to that point and be totally unaware and just be. And I can tell that it stresses my husband out a little bit right now, and he tries not to say too much because, he knows that I enjoy the occasional coffee, but
this isn't about coffee, though.
Out.
It's not about coffee.
No, it's not. It's not.
Can I tell you what I think it is? I think you're losing trust and faith.
Mm.
And I think
what do you
have
mean
to
by that exactly.
You have to reestablish trust with faith, because you tell yourself all the time, I'm not going to, and then you go do it, and then you go do it.
Oof. No, you're right. I do, because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go out and spend money. I'm not going to do this, and then I am spending money, and I don't understand why I can't just stop.
You can.
Because
You can.
I can.
You can. But that's not the real issue here. The real issue is underneath that. Who in your life do you feel like they are telling you what to do? To a point that you have to reject that, kick and scream against it.
I think my siblings and I had kind of a hard childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got out of the house, I was involved in a pretty harmful relationship, I would say. And I think after I got hurt, I was engaged and I broke it off. And I think after that, after that, I would tell myself all the time, I'm never, ever letting anybody dictate what I do ever again, because I'm not going to get hurt like that again.
Ta-da.
So you think that correlates with it?
I mean, you just said it.
Yeah.
And you've probably heard me say this a million times on the show, but the things that kept us safe during scary times in our lives are the things that will destroy our present and future relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up with a mom who is a tyrant, who will never let anybody tell her what to do, who just ran over your dad, who is dealing with her own dysregulated nervous system because of her childhood. That's scary for a kid and a bunch of siblings, right?
Yeah, it was.
And then you run to somebody who feels safe, but oh my gosh, I'm just repeating this pattern because we marry our unfinished business. Here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
I will never freaking do that again. And that's not a bad thing. But then you met this new guy and you looked him in the eye and you said, I do. And then y'all decided to create humans together. And then you ran into this awful thing that the whole world is having to deal with, and it's called math. Like, I want this life, but this is the life that I can have.
Yeah.
And it's easy when it becomes about, I should be able to have a coffee. You're right. But me and him said we wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that just becomes a matter of me keeping my word to myself.
I think, too, there's a part of me, when we sit down and talk about finances, I totally agree with him. But then the more I sit with it, the more it feels like, or maybe I twist it in my own head, and then it starts to feel like I'm being told what to do.
That's it.
and
You don't
then
like
I
it.
start to get mad at it.
Can I tell you what that is? That's a good old-fashioned temper tantrum.
Ugh. Oh dear.
Or more than that, it's a childish response.
Oh,
I mean, isn't
you're
it?
right. No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's just kicking and screaming. And so I grew up in a money insecure house. Okay, I never missed a meal. My parents never missed a mortgage payment, nothing like that. But things were so tight all the time.
Yeah.
Even to this day, last night of all times to get this call, last night my wife and I did a budget for this upcoming month. I do this every time. I put my own hand on my chest because I feel it. My body gets tense. I'm in my 40s, Faith. And unfortunately for my wife, her body feels my body get tense, and then she starts responding. It starts a whole domino effect. And my guess is that when you and your husband are sitting there doing budgets and you agree on it and then you start getting pissed off, he starts feeling less than because he doesn't make enough money to support his wife.
Yeah. And I don't want him to feel like that.
I know.
Ever.
And then he turns into your dad.
Right. And I could see us turning into my mom and dad very easily if I don't get it together.
It's not a matter of getting it together. I don't want you to look at this as though you're somehow broken. I want you to look at this as a series of skills that you don't have. Okay. And if I invited you over and said your job on our basketball team is to make all the free throws and you'd never shot them, the one thing you would do over and over is practice free throws. And so I want you to practice. If you moralize it, you're going to go to war against it. That's the pattern that your family has set. If someone tells you what to do, you fight the system. And if you're always fighting the system, you're going to get exhausted and you're going to quit. And you're going to go violate the thing that you said you wouldn't do. If you wake up every day and you say, you know what I get to do today? I get to take one more step to me and my husband never having to worry about money ever.
Yeah.
That's different than waking up and being like, well, I can't spend anything today.
You're right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And so what's beneath the coffee? Because you can afford to have nice coffee in your house.
Yeah.
It's that you want to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it, right?
I think you're right. Because I think when I can't or when I don't, well, we just talked about this, or when someone tells me what to do, I feel like maybe I'm losing control a little bit.
That's right.
And it freaks me out.
And Faith, when you signed up to marry this guy, you ceded control.
Well, you're right. I don't know that I realized that, but I do now.
But here's the deal. You didn't see total control. You ceded to co-create what comes next. And you have to recognize your body has leaned on other people before and it's gotten burned bad. And so I'm going to practice leaning on this guy. What does all that mean? What does practice mean? Like I say that a lot and it sounds all floofy. Here's what it means. It means you have to practice pulling into a Starbucks without thinking and then catching yourself, feeling annoyed, putting your hand on your chest, feeling annoyed, and then driving away. You have to feel yourself doing a budget with him and starting to feel yourself getting pissed and say out loud, I wasn't safe then, but I am safe now. That just has to be a choice. And if you're like me, practice was even harder than that. So there were seasons when I gave my debit card to my wife.
I did that once before, and then there was one time that I needed it, and I ended up getting annoyed with him. It was literally not his fault at all, but
right.
I thought we've talked about doing that as well.
I want you to, I'm giving you permission to spend some money, okay? And tell your husband this. I want you to go to the store tonight or get on Amazon tonight. And I want you to buy a small journal. And I want you to call it your blame journal.
Okay.
And every time you start to blame somebody else for the way you feel, I want you to write it down. And I think you're going to be stunned at how much you are outsourcing your own life to your granddad, to your mom, to your dad, to your siblings, to your husband, to the universe, to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody else's issues. And this will be the path towards you going, oh gosh, I'm blaming him for having my debit card that I gave him because I can't control my spending, right?
I know.
But hey, it's not an indictment. It's a thing to practice.
Yeah.
I also think it's fair to sit with your husband and say, I've held you responsible for things that I feel inside my body, and I'm going to stop doing that. But I'm going to have to practice it. And so when I snap or when I get mad, here's the signal that I want you to do to catch me. And you get to decide what that is.
Okay.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
And by the way, can y'all budget for coffee? Are y'all struggling that much?
We can budget for coffee. It's just when he gives me an inch, I go farther.
That's right. You know why? Because it's never about the coffee. It's always about the budget.
Right.
It's about a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like workout plans either, do you?
Not necessarily.
So I want you to practice following a plan. Give yourself 30 days and commit to it.
Okay.
If I give you and your husband the best budgeting app tool on the planet, will you use it?
Every dollar?
Yep.
Yeah, we use that.
I love it. So every time a little ding comes up, do you get mad at him?
I don't think consciously. I don't think I've ever... I felt annoyed a little bit, but I don't think I've ever realized that I get pissed at him over the budget.
Okay.
But now that we're talking about it, I can acknowledge that I have before, yeah. Uh-huh.
I want you to tell him you're sorry tonight. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't you can't earn your way out of this. And this is the pot talking to the kettle, by the way. Because it's about maturity, and it's about exhaling, and it's about feeling safe in your own skin, and it's about delaying gratification and doing the next right thing regardless of how you feel. And if you and your husband are co-creating a universe where your kids are going to live in X type of home and have X type of life, and you're going to have X type of safety and security downstream, then that requires y'all to make slow, boring, annoying decisions every day.
Yeah, you're right. And I want that for our family.
I want you to want that for you. You've been taking care of everybody else for your whole freaking life, Faith. I want you to have that peace.
I think maybe now that you say that, maybe there's part of me that, I don't know, maybe I don't feel like it's important enough for me. Like I don't deserve the peace of mind that would come along with getting on the same page with my husband in terms of the budget. And
I don't think you have a picture of what a married couple working together against all odds, us two, ride or die, fighting the system together. I don't think you know what that looks like, much less feels like.
No, not at all.
And so I want y'all to practice that together and celebrate the little wins. Celebrate the, dude, we went 1 week and I didn't buy anything outside of what you and I agreed on. Let's celebrate that. That's a big deal. We're learning new things. I wanted to so bad. I wrote it down in this little blaming journal that I got. I wanted to get coffee every day. I wanted to go out to lunch. I wanted to do all these things so bad. And I didn't. Let's celebrate it. Because we're building a thing together. Because I am worth building a thing together. I am worth doing new things. I'm worth all that. And we're worth all of that. And by the way, Faith, I think we can paralyze ourselves with overthinking these things in our childhoods and all that. And I started it. Our childhoods and this. Here's the deal. Make a budget and let's stick to it for 30 days. Let's stick to it for 30 days. We're going to do the next right thing regardless of what happened in our childhood, regardless of how we feel. We're going to do the next right, boring, hard thing. And then we're going to do it after that. And every time we don't want to, we're going to feel it and we're going to go do it anyway. And we're going to build those muscles. I believe in you, Faith, and I hope everything is great with your upcoming giving birth, and hope your baby's healthy and wonderful. And if it's a boy, I think John is a great name.